So it is draft week. Draft coming up Thursday. And it felt like it was a foregone conclusion that Caleb Williams was going to go 1 overall, and it looked like Jayden Daniels was going to go number 2 overall. And then last week, the odds took a change. Next thing you know, Drake May and Jayden Daniels are even money. And then the money starts to shift a little bit, but it's been nowhere near where Jayden Daniels was as the projected number 2 pick. And then all of a sudden, stories start to come out that apparently Jayden Daniels' agent was none too pleased with the fact that the Washington Commanders brought in 4 quarterbacks at the same time to visit and liked a bunch of tweets. And Adam Schefter and Jeremy Fowler and many others are saying, listen, he wasn't happy with what is going on in Washington. He's exploring his options. They've thrown out the potential, obviously we've talked about it, Antonio Pierce and his relationship in Las Vegas with Jayden Daniels. Is he trying to force the Raiders to come up and get him? Either way, not the greatest look for everybody on Jayden Daniels' side. So much so that, what was this, a crisis manager that they hired Brady Quinn to go ahead and make sure everything was on the up and up, and want to be clear, he's happy to go anywhere, and he's honored to play for anybody in the NFL. Whatever you want to call it, whole lot of smoke there, a lot of issues, a lot of drama, once again, for the Washington Commanders, who are picking number 2 in the draft. And I got a feeling back in 2000, they didn't have to deal with all this crap there, LaVar, back when you were sitting there at number 2.
What? I thought we were going to Q. We generally go to Q first. I mean,
these are the Commandos.
Listen.
Your Commandos.
I never knew there was a rule on how you bring players in for their visits and their interviews. I mean, quite frankly, I wasn't offended by it. I made mention of it. The story had surfaced. We were on air on Saturday, and I made mention of the fact that it just depends on what your mentality is, right? I mean, if this is true that he had a problem with other quarterbacks being there the same time as him, I would just say maybe he needs to take a look at what his mentality is and what his approach is, because this is a job interview. You don't have a job. They haven't hired you. So no matter if you like the organization or not, you still handle yourself in a way where it's glowing, it's classy, and it's something that leaves a lasting impression on the people that may employ you, because you just never know where this game may take you and your opportunity for employment at a different juncture in your career. So, but at the same time, if he felt a certain type of way about them not having him there by himself and not giving him maybe the intimacy of it just being him and the people that are making the decision, I mean, he's allowed to voice that opinion. Like, I would have liked to have had it be more of a one-on-one setting where, he felt a certain type of way in terms of what he was doing, but it's a job interview. So if I want to bring in multiple quarterbacks for this, then I would assume that that's the prerogative of the organization that is doing job interviews to fill the vacancy that they're trying to fill for that job. That's what I would say. I mean, I wouldn't be offended by it. They haven't hired me yet.
Oh, I'm offended. I'm offended by the fact that did they really use Topgolf to do this? I mean, that's what we're talking about.
What's wrong with Topgolf?
That's offensive. All right, I'm just saying.
Take me on a real course at least.
Anything. I mean, you go bowling. I mean, just Topgolf. Like we've got to go to a place like that. Like that's where we're taking them. I mean, oh man, I don't know. It was as for as much criticism as it received from his agent, and there were some other folks out there. I know Mike Florio really stood on his soapbox, and you get 30 of these, and you gotta just spend as much time with each one. It's like, well, maybe that's not how they want to do this. Maybe they felt like, much like the combine, where you have all 4 quarterbacks who you might be looking at right there, you're able to compare and contrast in real time. So let's just take away the Topgolf, because I'm still shocked that was what they used as their basis of comparison, if that was part of it. And think about the film room. Think about the board. think about as each guy walks through and goes through whatever it is you're trying to test them on to see how they compare. Isn't it easier to do it if you just watch the last guy walk out and the next guy walk in after? I mean, that's what we talk about the use for the combine outside of the medical is the interviews. So I sit there and listen to it, and I can understand where people would say, well, wouldn't you want to have just one guy in there and spend as much time as – they've spent a lot of time with these guys already. They're going to spend, obviously, 5, 6, 10 years, depending on if things go well, with these guys. They've got a pretty idea, I think, of what they're looking for. The thing for a team like Washington, who sits at number 2, is they have a real decision to make on who they're picking between. So the reality of their choice is it is a comparison between a Jayden Daniels, a Drake May, a J.J. McCarthy, maybe Caleb Williams, although we're pretty sure he's going number 1. But even if you're looking at, hey, how good is Caleb Williams compared to the rest of these guys? If he is that much better and that far out, maybe I'm looking at Caleb Williams too, saying to Chicago, like, hey, what would you trade up? What would you do? Maybe they see Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams being closer. You never know. So I have no issue with them using a visit for all 4 on the same day for comparison's sake, because that's what they have to do come Thursday. They have to make a decision on one. And so we call the combine process, we call a lot of this stuff speed dating. That's in essence what they did. They did another round of speed dating. We have reality TV shows where we literally give out a rose. We have a group of dudes who are trying to date one girl, marry one girl, or vice versa. We watch that, and we're entertained by it. Yet the second we use that as maybe a little cause for comparison for this particular case where you got one rose to give come Thursday, we're going to knock it? I don't know. I mean, it just the way I'm looking at it is it's more offensive they went to Topgolf. All right. There's better. LaVar could take us through it. There's better things to do in the D.C. area than go to Topgolf. That's all.
I don't know everything that they did. I don't know. I mean, that was the above board version of what was taking place. I don't know what happened after that. If they had anybody else take them around after Topgolf, I don't know. But
I mean, if you were going to smoke somebody out that was fearful of competition, this would be one way to do it. Like if you're auditioning.
I mean, but is it fearful of competition, or is it your ego? I mean, listen, if I'm Jayden Daniels, I think I'm the best quarterback in this draft.
Is this a fireable offense? Like, would you call your agent and be like, "What are you doing?" Or is Jayden Daniels behind this? Because there's more like everything I've seen from these reports, from Schefter and the rest of these guys, is that no, like he really, they're not sure about Washington.
It doesn't matter if they're sure about Washington; they don't get to choose. That's what the interesting thing to me about all of this is, okay, if you come out and you say, I don't want to go to Washington, so this gives me the opportunity to have an out. It doesn't. It does not. Again, there's some people that are really, really high on Jayden Daniels. If I were picking number 1 overall in the draft, I would take Jayden Daniels, number 1. That's who I would take. And I've stood on that. I've said that from day one. Now, I know there's a lot of pressure and a lot of media. I stand on it.
Stand on it.
There are a lot of people out there that, think that it's just a far and away runaway for Caleb Williams to be number 1, and it's probably very true. But if you really take the time to look at their games and how they've handled things and what it looks like, to me, I look at Jayden Daniels and I say, if Jayden Daniels goes to the right scenario, the right situation, he's this year's C.J. Stroud. That's what I think. And it's because he not only can throw the ball well and throw it from the pocket. I mean, he has some really, really good receivers to throw to as well. But he also is an X factor in being able to run the ball. His mobility is pretty elite. I would think he's the most mobile out of the top quarterbacks. I mean, JJ is a pretty mobile guy as well, but I would think that Jayden Daniels is the most mobile of all of the quarterbacks coming out in that top tier. So to me, if I'm Washington. We can have the conversation, but this isn't a deal breaker. Like, you were offended, let's talk about it. This is, and they can handle it however they want to handle it from there. And if I'm Jayden Daniels, let's talk about it. I don't know that I would have, if it is indeed Jayden Daniels, if he's trying to get to the Las Vegas Raiders, and that might be what everybody's thinking is taking place, and they might not be wrong. If you're trying to find a way to slide down the board, I mean, maybe that's why you say this. Maybe that's why you say leak it out and let's see what we can get from it. But for the most part, if you're not trying to slide down the draft board or get the Raiders to come up the draft board, it doesn't matter what he did. He's going to get drafted 1, 2, 3, or if somebody trades up, to 4, whatever. Where is it? The Arizona Cardinals at 4?
Yeah, sitting at 4.
Yeah, so whatever it may be, he's going in one of those picks.
It's like he may not like Washington. You think playing for Bobby Orchids is a better situation in New England?
Dang, Bobby Orchids.
You think that's a better spot for him to go?
Is that yours? Is that original?
Also, you like that, Bobby Orchids?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Also, he must really suck at golf.
Bobby Orchids.
If just the thought of a driving range sent him into social media convulsions the way that it did.
Yeah, but with multiple
he must
quarterbacks.
Stink out loud at golf.
But multiple quarterbacks. Come on.
I mean, they're all getting. It's not like any of those guys are, shooting 10 under at the RBC Heritage or whatever that tournament is going on this weekend. What has he got to worry about? You think McCarthy's out there, hitting 400-foot bombs or 400-yard bombs? You just go there, tee it up, say, hey, I suck, but I'm better than you guys at quarterback.